Communism's good on paper, but doesn't work in real life. Allegri does one thing, and he's not going to change it.
Ciao, paisans! Welcome back. Another incredible episode of Calcio Culture coming at you live. A little late this week. Apologies, paisans. As things stand today, Inter firmly in first place, 6 points clear of Milan and Napoli. Milan with a game in hand, that is. But good to be back. Good to be here. I am here with both of my co-hosts, Mats and Vos. Vos, how we feeling?
Feeling good. There's been so much shit going on with the midweek ball, Coppa Italia midweek, crazy shit going on at the weekend. One of the biggest games of the year, Inter Napoli. So it's good. There's a lot to break down. When we hopped on the planning session, it was kind of, let's get away from our normal little flow. And instead of doing just game reviews today, I think we're just going to talk about teams in general and kind of where things are at, because it got crazy this weekend. I don't know why, but it was this weekend. I think part of it is Juve all of a sudden being good threw a wrench into things that nobody expected.
Shit's gone awry. And today we're just going to have a little bit of a therapy sesh, but it's a great session for Mats because Mats is in a great spot compared to where we were a couple weeks ago.
Yes, ciao ragazzi. Mats is feeling good. I think that the wrench in it was definitely the Super Cope. Now we got games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got people making up games. We got postponing games. That definitely threw the wrench in it for sure. But on the flip side and the positive side, it definitely made for Calcio basically every single day, which is fun and good, but definitely hard to keep up with for sure because we do got day jobs. But with that said, this will be a fun episode, a little untraditional like Vos kind of hinted, and I'm excited for it.
Got a lot to cover today.
Yeah, let's before we get into, actually, let's do transfers first, Logs, then we'll kind of transition to the other stuff, because it's obviously transfer window season. Logs' favorite time of the year, even though we didn't want to write anything in the planning session. But
listen,
yeah,
just took a little. You got to coax me a little bit. You got to coax me. I ended up planning. This is my favorite time of the year, as much as everyone likes to hate. I love a good rumor, but most of what we're talking about today are confirmed transfers. We're going to be a little bit more organized than we usually are. So let me go team by team, shall we? We'll go team by team. And with that organization, we're actually going to start in Rome with both Roman teams. And I think there's no better place to start than Roma themselves. 2 confirmed transfers in this early window. 2 attacking players, that is. Number 1, Robinho Vaz. Coming in, that's Robinho Vaz, not Vos, Robinho Vaz. Coming in 22 million, purchased out of Marseille. Not too much known about this man, although he seems to be promising. It was a quick get for Roma. It seemed to be one of their top targets, but he's coming in to help fortify the front lines, as well as Daniel Malen. Daniel Malen coming from my namesake, Aston Villa, in the Prem, had some time as well at Dortmund, a Dutch national team extraordinaire. He is on loan with an obligation to buy at 25 million if he does meet some of those metrics. I think these are 2 great acquisitions by Roma, only because the front line seems to be something they can't figure out. And for Gasparini, he can't complain about these guys. He can't complain that he didn't have a say to bring these guys in. So he's got to make them work, or he's got to shut up.
I don't know anything about Robinho Vaz, so let me preface that with I don't know anything about the guy. I've never watched him, but statistically wise, Marseille are in 3rd in Ligue 1. He has 14 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists. So it's like, that's not great, I don't
know how much he's been playing for Marseille, though.
He has 14 games played. I don't know. I'm checking how many starts. He only has 3 starts.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
So they must see something in him that
trending in the right direction.
He's got like 400 minutes. That seems risky for 22 mil, then. First of all.
How old is he?
He's 18 or 19. He's young.
Come on. It's a shot in the dark. 22 million is
I just feel like they're not in the territory to be going shot in the dark. Like, I think
that's why they got Daniel Malen.
They took the risks on like Soulé. That paid off. I think that's kind of it. That was a big risk. But I just feel like
that was not a risk.
Yeah, I guess not.
That was a bargain.
Like,
buy.
If you look, and I think Daniel Malen has a chance at being good, but again, it's a little bit different of a striker profile. You can play off the left, which is definitely improvement. Maybe Vaz can play off the left. I actually have no idea. But my point with this is really, you have now spent 47 million on 2 guys. The loan with obligation to buy basically means you just pushed out the payment till the end of the season. Why not do a loan with obligation to buy on a striker for 40 million, like a 40 million price tag coming next season? Because you end up Like, it's the same amount of money, right? At the end of the day, when that is so obvious, like that is the last place you need a good player to hit the next level. That's how I would think about it. And you're bringing in two guys that are not guaranteed to be better than Dovbyk or Ferguson, or even I would say El Shaarawy in a lot of ways. So that's why I'm like, I don't know about this one. And I think the difference when you look at this from like if this was Atalanta, it would be different. Roma's a bigger club than Atalanta. I would expect them to like splash the cash in a bigger way and not kind of take this risk at this point in the cycle. You know what I mean? Like in where they are in this cycle, it's win now, win next year. And we don't know if these guys are going to put. I don't think Malin's going to push them there. Oz might. I've never watched him, but it just seems like not the right time to do something like that. When you just did this, I mean, that's what they did with Ferguson and Dovbyk.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. Is that the same exact loan for Ferguson? So then you put it all together. Next summer, it's now 60 million, 65-ish. But listen, we don't know too much about him. We obviously don't watch the French league, and I just go back to Gasperini hasn't necessarily hit the ground running with Roma, but I go back to his time at Atalanta and how we always said he turned water into wine with his attackers. And if he kind of led the charge, I'm not really sure if he did or didn't lead the charge or how this buy became a thing at Roma. But I kind of trust that he knows the profile of guys he wants and that will be good in his system. And we'll have to wait and see.
And my only take is that, again, I won't speak on Vaz. I do believe he's a striker. Again, very young, but seems to be putting out decent numbers in very short minutes. But Daniel Malin for sure can play off the left, no doubt about it. So if for anything else they get a guy that's used to playing off that side, a well-experienced guy, a guy who's been able to play in multiple competitions throughout the season, was on Dortmund when they went to the Champions League final, has been on a Netherlands team that has gone very deep in a lot of competitions. So for nothing else, he brings an experience, he brings in the know-how, he's been there, done that, which I think a lot of these new Roma guys have not had that same experience. So again, I think that what it comes down to is you got to hope that Gasperini knows what he wants, and if these are the two guys that he wants, then so be it. Then put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have faith in Ricky Massara to make good decisions. Like CDK was a good decision, hindsight, and that's kind of like in the same sort of ballpark. I mean, it just one of the things that doesn't sit well is we don't know if either of these guys are good enough to be in the starting 11, and you just spent basically 50 million on that. Like, doesn't
Remains to be
sit
seen.
great. I mean, the other thing with 25 mil, go get Giovanni. Fuck it, like he's good in the league. Just go get him. I would
That's
much
true.
rather them do something sensible like that.
That's true. I do find that a lot of these
Are you
teams,
talking,
Giovanni from Verona,
Oh, okay. I thought it was yeah.
not his other boy,
Who?
Raspadori.
Oh
No.
Oh, no, Simeone.
Yeah,
Simeone.
Simeone.
No, oh
yeah.
no.
No.
God, no.
Simeone's not leaving, dude. He's a Torino legend right
Even
now.
like Loriente. What would Loriente cost? Maybe I don't even think he'll go for. I bet he'll go for 30.
I find it very hard that Sass sells him midseason.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
In any case, Roma making some weird buys. You know what? Honestly, pretty in line with their season right now. Pretty in line with their season. Weird buys, weird season, weird performances, weird Gasperini. Another weird situation, though, is on the other side of Rome.
God.
In Lazio. Lazio making some strange decisions in their first window. And since forever, I can't remember the last time that they bought or sold somebody.
It was last summer.
No, they couldn't.
Not
they
this summer.
No, like a year ago.
Yeah. They brought in Nuno Tavares. They brought in.
All right, so I mean, I could remember when they last did business, but if I wanted to be a little bit of a storyteller, then I don't remember. So be it. But very quickly, three important transactions. One actually exiting. Number one, Ken Taylor, midfielder out of Ajax, has been a stout starter for Ajax for a couple of seasons now. Dutch midfielder. I don't know if this is just a recency bias thing for me, but very similar to a Conor Gallagher, who just went to Tottenham from Atletico Madrid. An 8 box-to-box, can kind of do it all. Not very good at anything in particular, but certainly somebody that's better than a Cataldi or anybody that they've been running out in the midfield right now. So certainly a step up from that perspective, 17 million in. Another acquisition for them, Petr Ratkov, 13 million, a striker. I do not know a single thing about this guy. I barely got his name right. But a funny quote from Sarri out of him in second. And last but certainly not least, an exit from Lazio, Matteo Guendouzi, out. Goes to Fenerbahce, played at the midweek after he had already been sold, basically, goes to Fenerbahce at the weekend and wins a trophy and scores a
scores a
goal
goal. Yeah.
in his debut in the Turkish league. Quite the couple of days for Matteo Guendouzi. But Vos, Sarri had a couple of funny things to say about these guys.
Yeah. So when Guendouzi got sold, Sarri came out and said that like he fully was considering him to be a lock 11 guy that was going to be a part of his system the entire time he was there. So that's really alarming. And then we can kind of circle back on that. What was his one about Ratkov? Because you said that one.
Yeah, on Petr Ratkov, again, I think this just continues to show that there is a complete disconnect between Sarri and the front office here.
Latito,
yeah.
And Latito, Matz's favorite Latito. Sarri in a press conference gets asked about his new star striker after Tati Castellanos leaves again to West Ham, another weird exit for Lazio that we've already talked about. But the press asked him about Petr Ratkov, his new striker, and he goes, I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him, but I'm sure there's somebody in this organization that does, so you probably should ask them. That is not something that you want to hear out of your manager as a new player. That is not something you want to hear out of your manager as a player on the team. And that's not something that you want to be saying as a manager.
I think that might just be a little bit of Maurizio Sarri getting some payback on Latito for hiring or not telling him about the transfer ban in the summer. And so he's just like, all right, like I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Like obviously it's not me to all the Lazio fans because he obviously loves Lazio and he wants the fans to know like this, I have no control over anything. And so he's like kind of letting them know that and also kind of like telling Latito off by saying that. What I will say, and I think this might be a crazy take, I think you two will probably disagree. I know Vos will, but I really think if you told me in last summer or this summer, Tati and Guendouzi,
Dude,
60 million. I'm probably taking that. I'm probably saying, give me 60 million. Are you for those two? I'm taking 60 million. Like, I know, I understand that because they had the transfer ban, they don't have the depth to replace them really, or did they replace them yet? But if you told me last summer or at the end of coming towards the end of last season, you can get 60 million for those two guys. I think I take that every single time. I don't think Guendouzi is worth 30 mil, and I don't think Tati Castellanos is worth 30 million either.
From my perspective on Tati, I think they undersold at 30. I mean,
I do too. Lorenzo Luca went for 35, and Tati is a million times better than
that's
him.
true. That's a really good market comparison.
Does not stay healthy. He gets injured all the time.
That's true.
Sure. But there was a funny graphic that West Ham put up when they went in Tati's debut, and it was Tati's stats as a Lazio player since he had joined, and it was goals and assists, progressive passes, dribbles completed, etc. He was number one in all those categories for Lazio players, and I think that just goes to show that this sell didn't make a lot of sense. They need him. They needed him, and 30 million is just not enough to give your star player away.
I think he was worth more. I think at the same time, I think what you're saying, Mats, has some merit. Like 60 mil for both of those guys is not terrible in a way. What's more alarming is I don't know what the strategy is from here.
Yeah,
I don't even like Maurizio. If you were planning on doing this, you shouldn't have hired Sarri. Like Sarri is not a guy that like you're going to start from square one on and build on. You know what I mean? I don't think that's what he's trying to do at this point in his career. And you've been making the point that maybe he will leave. This is like he probably should just hang it up, call it a day. And the signings that they do next are going to be extremely important because at this point, Guendouzi and Tati, no matter what you say, are two of their best three players without question. And then you go to the back line, we're assuming Mario Gila gets sold. So now you're probably selling three of your best four players, and the fourth player is Ravello, who's probably going to stay. And then Nuno Tavares cannot stay healthy. So at this point, it's just bad. They're very bad in an area where all the teams around them are getting better. So
they're also linked to selling Cancellieri, which is also another one of their rising stars. So even if they were resetting and they were trying to build from something, they're selling their younger players as well. So I don't know what Latito's doing.
I mean, I'm not trying to defend Latito at all. I'm obviously I want him to sell the club. I don't like him. I think he's awful. But I just think that when it comes to like those players, like Tati he played max 20 games a season. He was always in and out of the lineup. So yes, we know how important he was when he was in, but they barely had him. So it's like we're losing a lot, but like we're not losing a ton. Guendouzi never got hurt and played every game. They're definitely losing a lot there in terms of like what he brought to the table. But I think 30 mil for him is about the ceiling you're going to get for him. I don't think he's ever going to go for more. And then in terms of the replacements, obviously, I don't know who they're going to get, but I can tell you one thing I know. They're not going to spend more than what they sold. So we can expect like 15 mil buys, 8 mil buys, 12 mil buys from these players, but they're not going to totally invest it, especially with that transfer ban last season and Latito not being able to make some money on some players in the summer. He's definitely not going to reinvest those. He'll reinvest some, but not all of it.
Yeah. And
So
I want to move on from do you have something to say, Lugs? I just want to say one last thing.
Well, go ahead, and then I'll finish off Lazio.
Yeah. So my last thing on this is you were kind of in contention for a European spot. You're fully punting that away for this year after doing this. You're not getting into Europe no matter what happens. So that's another kind of bad thing.
So
Were
that
they,
goes
though?
into that goes into what I was going to say. One
they
word,
were.
one number.
Definitely.
With the moves that they're making right now, the both of you, where do you think Lazio end up? They are currently in 8th.
10.
12.
I think 10 is the right number. In any case,
if you look at really quickly who's behind them, Bologna 9, Udinese 10, SAS 11, Torino 12. I think
Most things Torino's going to jump them.
I think Torino's better. I think SAS is
most
better.
things Torino's going to the Europa League.
I think Bologna. I think Torino's bad, but Lazio has now sold the only guys that do anything for them.
We'll see. I want to kick it on. I think that there's another storyline here that doesn't make a ton of sense considering where the team is positioned, and that is in Florence, La Viola, Fiorentina making moves, making acquisitions in 18th, which says a lot all in itself. Three quick acquisitions here. 2, I think, will make a big difference. 1 I haven't heard a lot of, but we'll talk about it anyways. But first and foremost, Brescianini from Atalanta. Loan, $1 million loan fee for the rest of the season. Great acquisition. Regardless of where you stand, I think Fiorentina's roster could use a Brescianini, and he showed it over the weekend against Milan. Number 2, Jack Harrison from Leeds on a loan with a $10 million potential buy at the end of the season.
Sense. I have no
Not
idea
sure where that came from.
He's not going to play. Ever.
I don't think so. And then Manor Solomon, the Israeli from Tottenham, a hot buy at Tottenham when he was brought in, has not sniffed the pitch in years. He is on a dry loan in from Tottenham. What does this tell you guys from a Fiorentina perspective? Acquisitions at this point in the season, do they really believe that they have something going?
No, maybe, but these acquisitions make no sense for where they are because none of these guys are better than the players they already have, and you're on one game. You're not on one game a week, actually. That's the only thing I would say.
They're on 3 games a week.
I mean, with Jack Harrison, they don't need any more midfielders, so that one makes no sense. Jack Harrison
is a winger.
He's a winger?
Yes.
I thought he played in the midfield at Leeds. He's like a frontline winger.
He's a winger.
So they definitely don't need him. So I'll double down on that one. Manor Solomon, I know he's kind of a winger. He played a little bit wing back. I don't think he's better than anybody they have. Don't think it makes sense. Brescianini, I think, makes sense because he's the only guy in your team that can kind of play what Gudmundsson wants to do. So you have like more of a direct rotator there, and then he can kind of play both wings. So that one I like. That's more of like a 2 competition thing, but I don't think this moves the needle for them. Like this doesn't make them any better. It makes them more equipped to deal with more competitions. That's it.
The only thing that I agree, the Brescianini one is the only one that makes sense to me, only because it then you now don't need Vajoli to play the 10 when Gudmundsson's not playing. I'm just saying it's a depth thing from that perspective. If Gudmundsson's not in, you can play Brescianini without having to push Vajoli up the field where he's more comfortable sitting back. I think that's the only thing that makes sense out of this window.
What about this? You guys giving this a thought?
Probably not.
Maybe they're like, what we have just isn't working. Let's try something new. Let's bring in some wingers. Let maybe change formation. It's just what the guys that they had, where I agree with both of you saying that who they have are better than who they brought in. Those guys that are better just aren't getting the job done right now. So let's bring in some new guys and let's see if they can get the job done. And at the very least, by bringing in these new guys, the guys that aren't getting the job done, it's like lights a fire under their ass. It's like your spot is not even like their spot wasn't up for grabs while they weren't getting the job done. Yes, were there changes made? Yeah, obviously, but it was still like, these are the guys that we have to play. Now it's like, all right, well, we have different options. We can play maybe a 4-3-3 now with these 2 wingers. Or
they have been, to be fair. Yeah, they have kind of switched that.
And so it's like, all right, well, now let's see if this works. They're crazy buys. I didn't see that coming. I'm happy Fiorentina did it because I obviously do not want them to go down in the slightest because they're a good team that should be in this league. So hopefully this will help. And that's just a perspective, a different perspective. But they're definitely crazy for sure.
Last thing on Brescianini real quick. Very, very interesting that Gasparini didn't like him, Juric didn't like him, and now Palladino didn't like him. Very, very interesting. Something to just watch.
Maybe,
'Cause I
maybe
think
the
Milan
no-
also wasn't he a Milan Academy product as well? So I don't know who it was there, but they got him out. So
we like Brescianini, and Brescianini played well against Milan over the weekend. I think that this could be good if he gets some time. But we'll
someone
see.
that Calcio Culture doesn't like though.
Someone that some of us on Cultural Culture don't like, and going to the team that Brescianini just left, essentially his replacement of sorts in the lineup. Going to Atalanta, they have a reunion of some Sassuolo players. Scamacca gets his running mate back into the mix. Giacomo Raspadori, the Italian extraordinaire, the once star boy turned into nothing, has returned to Serie A. After a short stint at Atletico Madrid, he has come into Atalanta. 22 million, not a small price tag for his return.
And I know you're more.
You got a Sarvos. I mean,
Yeah.
this has to be
All
you.
right. Okay, so a couple things there. I don't think Raspadori is that good. I don't think he's good enough to play for Atalanta. The other thing is he's the exact same player as Danny Maldini, and Danny Maldini has a longer runway now. You also have Zaleski there, who's playing really good, and
Very
he's going to
good.
be in the same position. And you also have Mario Pasalic, who's also playing very good, just scored a goal, also in that same position. I don't know why you bought him. I don't like it. I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think Palladino's going to have a place to put him. I just don't get it. I don't think he's one of those guys that everybody's just agreed upon is like pretty good, but he's not. Like, so I don't know what's going on.
He's a flash in the pan kind of guy, dude. He's a flash.
He's
in
a
the pan.
small,
This
he's a
you live and
littler
die by
price
it.
tag version of Alvaro Morata at this point. You move him
You know what?
around.
You know what it is. You know what it
funnel
is.
some
You're,
money
you're
around.
discounting. You're discounting this far too little. He misses his big brother. He misses his big brother in Scamacca. He was a titan on Sassuolo. Was a highly touted prospect on Sassuolo.
Never call him a Titan, please.
He was a highly touted prospect on Sassuolo, has gotten a ton of minutes on the Italian national team, and for that matter, has done some really good things for the Italian national team, might I say. I think that this might be a fresh start for him. Napoli clearly wasn't it. That wasn't the situation for him. No idea why he went to Atletico. He does not fit into that system at all whatsoever, but this might be his fresh start. I'm going to give him a couple games. He's got a leash. He's got a decent leash from my side.
I think you definitely got to give him a couple games. I mean, folks, he's definitely of the level to play for Atalanta. Like this Atalanta is his level. Like
no, Lookman's not even back yet. With Lookman's going to come back.
but like he's not at the level to play for like an Atletico Madrid or like
I think Atalanta's at that level, if not better, at this point.
I don't know that
Come
they're
on.
at. Yeah, he's at Atalanta.
Atalanta should have beat Arsenal at home this year. Like they tied, and they probably should have won that game.
But so here's the thing with that. Atalanta, you could beat anybody on any given day. When you talk about the level of the club and the level of the play, Atalanta are not on Arsenal's level. Atalanta are not on Atletico Madrid's level. A team that has beat Real Madrid and Barcelona 4 Scudettos, who have been in Champions League finals. Atalanta have late runs in Champions League final? Yes, one time. They've won a Europa League. That's a different competition. Like they are a little bit like they're not in the upper echelon of the Serie A in terms of level of the club. And I think this is Raspadori's ceiling. Now, where I think
Raspadori's ceiling should be like 8th, 9th, like below. Like the best team he can play for is like a Bologna.
Dude, you're such a hater. You're such a hater. Actually, Bologna would love Raspadori.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a great spot for him.
I think it would actually make sense. No, I actually don't. I take that back. He has nowhere to play there either.
But so, and to Logs' point, and I agree. Like I'm not his biggest fan. He definitely has played well on the Italian national team.
Right. I would agree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Where I think this can work is Palladino is very good with like misfit toys, right? Like we saw what he was able to do with Fiorentina with all those misfit toys and players underperforming, Moise Kean, so on and so forth. Raspadori is of that like flop at Atletico, didn't ever really do much at Napoli, although he did win 2 Scudettos there, wasn't like a key part. I don't think he's going to be a key part to this Atalanta team, but I think what he's going to be asked to do, sub in on the right, sometimes play number 9 when for Scamacca every now and then. We can change up the style of play. I think Palladino can get something out of him, but it's not going to look like 14, 15 goals. Like, his ceiling is his ceiling. And I agree with you, like, he's not that good. But, like, Palladino can get something out of him.
He's good, not great. And Vos, you treat him as like a leper, like a cancer.
No,
he's not
I
that
think
bad.
he's good enough to play for a mid-table team in Serie A. That's it.
Like Sassuolo.
You can go back to Sass. I would love that. Torino, I think would make a ton of sense for him to play for Torino. Not for
All
Atalanta.
right, your therapy session on Raspadori is over. I'm not
I tried
here
not
for
to
the
talk.
hatred.
I didn't have anything to say to begin with. You
But
asked me.
to wrap up the transfer window here, I'd be remiss to not talk about Milan because I love to talk about Milan. We've already talked about Fulkrug, again, a $1 million loan fee, $13 million potential obligation divided in the season. Played really well, I think, over the weekend. Had some plays that I did not think he had in his toolbox. But the reason I want to bring up Milan is one of the positions that I can't even begin to describe the troubles that we've had for the last couple seasons is that wingback position, specifically on the right. And we are heavily linked to not only Norton Cuffy of Genoa, but also Palestra of Cagliari for hefty price tags, though. Both over 20 million. That is a big price to pay, but for two players who have seemingly been proven, at least at the bottom of the table in this league for 2 seasons or so now, I'd be happy to see them come in. The reason I bring this up as well is because there was a headline today that Allegri is considering moving to a 4-3-3, and the only reason that he's looking to move to a 4-3-3 is to give Salamakers a rest. And in that case, that makes no sense. Why change an entire system to give one player rest? Oh my God, go spend the money. We're not a small club. We're not broke. We're the only team that had a profit last season. Spend the money. Get a guy you like. Get a guy that's proven in this league. Norton Cuffy has been great all season long. Palestra is one of the most promising players of the Italian descent in this league. Go spend the money. I'm sick of playing this broke private equity. We can't go out and splash the cash. Splash the cash.
I think the issue with both of these is this is a summer thing. Like, Palestra is not going to get done in January. And I don't think Norton Cuffy does either.
You could also get him for maybe cheaper in the summer because people tend to overbid in January. However,
and Palestra has kind of been cooling off a little bit.
Has been cooling off. But in any case, I just wanted to cover Milan for a second there, as I always like to do. But with that wraps today's transfer update. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. Those back to our regularly scheduled gameplay.
Regular scheduled programming here. Like we said, we kind of want to mix it up just because things have kind of gotten crazy. But to go through some of the big results this weekend, Roma beat Sass, Atalanta beat Torino, Fiorentina tied Milan, Inter and Napoli tied, Juve beat Cremonese handedly, which was a big one. Those were kind of the big results, I would say. Yeah, those are the big results. And then middle of the week, we did have one Coppa Italia game. Roma lost to Torino. That's a disaster in my mind. I don't want to spend a ton of time there, but how do you guys feel about that one?
Absolute disaster. What do you mean? I mean, Roma should have had that handedly. But to give up 3 goals to Torino after coming back twice in that game, after having one of your prospects, 16 years old, first touch, score a goal, having that momentum behind you, you got to beat Torino. If you think trophies matter, which you guys do and I sometimes don't, you got to win this game.
No, this was like a great year for them to like try to prioritize winning the Coppa Italia, to be honest with you. And the way they've been playing, like not letting in a lot of goals, that's what wins knockout tournaments. So this is a disaster. You absolutely cannot be conceding 3 goals to Torino.
Yeah, I would agree it's a disaster, but I think that you have a bright spot in a 16 or 18-year-old prospect scoring.
Captain of the Primavera.
They have, obviously, every week we come on here talking about the struggles of their up front. I don't think he's necessarily going to be the answer tomorrow or this season, but Roma are notorious for bringing up players from the Primavera, so they might have a future there, along with who they just bought, who's also 18. Young prospects for Roma at the very least to look on somewhat of the bright side. But yeah, lack of concentration. Got to get this done. Not good. And just building on to their just downfall.
Yeah, but what I'll say is, good for Torino. Way to show up. Way to not quit on the season. Unfortunately for Torino, they're going to get taken out behind the shed out back, and they're going to get killed. Absolutely depleted by Inter in the next round.
Yeah, true.
You never know with Inter. You never know.
Any day. That's why you play the game. Inter is going to steamroll Torino.
All right. And then the other thing that's going on midweek, Matchweek 16 replays because of the Supercoppa. So today we had Parma and Napoli played. That was in Naples. They tied 1-1. Disaster result, I would say, for Napoli with a Parma team that's been pretty bad all year. Then Inter beat Lecce at home 1-0. Kind of barely got it done. So, I mean, classic Calcio here. And then tomorrow, the other makeup games are Bologna at Verona. Big game for both of those teams. And then Milan at Como. Massive game for Milan. I say that because now looking at the table, again, we haven't done this in a while, so I just want to talk about it a little bit. Inter are in first place on 46 points. Milan and Napoli in second and third on 40 points. Really
Milan
important
game in
there.
hand.
Milan has the one game in hand. So they could potentially be 3 points behind Inter. Regardless, Inter is sole holders. Then you go into 4, 5, 6 for like the other kind of, I mean, we're going to have a bigger discussion about this, but Juve in fourth on 39 points. So 1 point back from Napoli. Roma, same thing in fifth, 39 points. And then behind them, 6, 7, 8, Como on 34 points, Atalanta on 31 points, Lazio on 28 points. We can kind of keep going. I don't think it's important. But there's a couple things we got to break down here now, right? Because like I said at the beginning episode, resurgent Juve has kind of changed the picture in a lot of ways, I think. Como being as good as they've been all year and kind of going through a little bit of a rough patch about a month ago is still really interesting. Like they're fully in that battle still. And then the other thing is now Atalanta is right there. After we kind of counted them out, Palladino has actually worked wonders. And then this goes even further now. Lazio is continuing to get worse. So there's a question if they're going to be able to push. Bologna has been getting worse, but there's always a chance that they can push. So there's kind of like 3 different layers to talk about this from.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is there's 3 definite. I think we're starting to get 3 groups, and I would say it's almost group 1 is a group of 4. The third
and maybe
group,
5 though. If you're going to say 4, you have to say 5 because of where Roma's at.
Well, I'll make an argument for 6 depending on tomorrow.
But no, see, so why I think it's a group of 4 is because Roma, as I just mentioned, their trajectory is just going down. They lose to Torino. They're not playing good. They're not scoring goals. They don't look like a team. Like they don't show signs that they are going to win the games needed to be there in the Scudetto race. They might be there for the top 4, but that's where I think it's 4. Then I do think, however, Roma is good enough where they are very much in their own, they're group 2. They're by themselves in group 2. And then I think group 3.
Hey, what is group 2 then? Like getting
Roma,
European ball.
Roma is group,
what is group 2 though? Like where are they going to finish? They're going to get a European competition. They're 100%.
5 or 4.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then I think.
So how is Juve not in that?
Because the exact opposite. Juve are trending in the completely different direction than Roma is. Yes, they're on the same amount of points. Juve are the second hottest team in the league compared to Inter alone. They've owned, and maybe you can call it bias if you want, but I think if you watch those 2 teams play, there's a clear Juventus are trying to win every game, and not only win every game, they're trying to kill every game. Roma are holding on for dear life for every game and praying that they come out with 3 points. So I think now it's not like the gap's very big, but I think that's why Juventus put themselves, they were just in, there was a group of 2 with Roma and Juventus. These last 3 games, they've entered the group 1. And now to finish my thought, group 3 is what? Como, Atalanta, Lazio, Bologna. So that's 4. So you got a group of 4, you got a group of 1, and you got a group of 4.
Yeah, but even in that last grouping, like I think Como and Atalanta are miles ahead of Lazio at this point. And I would say agree. Bologna could turn it around like in an instant, but even that, they're in that Roma bucket where they're just trending down and down, and Atalanta's just trending up. Atalanta is probably the 3rd hottest team in the league, in my opinion.
Am I wrong to say this? Am I wrong to say this when we look at the table? Realistically, given how Lazio and Bologna have been so bad, are there not just 7 teams in the race for the top 6?
I don't hate that. What I will say in what I think happened last season, and I think when we come on here every single week and we dissect games and we talk about results, we talk about it so like this loss was the end of their season. And it's like that you're stuck in that week. So you have to, but like there's 18 games left. Like Bologna, like you mentioned, can just snap their fingers and all of a sudden they win tomorrow. They beat Como. Now Como is stuck on 34.
They're playing
and Bologna's 4 points
Verona.
behind. Oh wait, I apologize. Como loses, Bologna wins. That's a lot of ifs. Bologna are right there. They're 4 points away on Como. But I don't disagree with you, Logan, that there are definitely like 7 for sure, and then Bologna and Lazio are teetering to almost be out of group 3. You know, they're almost in group 5 or group 4.
Let me put us on a track here. I want to go back to something I said in the last episode, and it pertained to Inter. And the thing that I said about Inter was that if they put belt to ass on Napoli and they come away with 3 points from that game, that this was going to be a runaway season. They obviously tie. That's a 2-2 game. Both teams come away with a 1-1 draw, a 2-2 draw, 1 point each. Then Inter come out. They sneak away with a point today, but
Sneak away with one.
but that's something that we hadn't, or they
Three.
sneak away with a win, 3 points. Something that we haven't seen out of Inter again, winning those very close games, no matter who the team is. And now they're 6 points ahead of Napoli, with Milan hanging behind. Although we have a huge tilt tomorrow, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think that Inter have almost put themselves in a group of their own. In that they are, if you were to repeat their first half of the season now, because again we have 18 games left. Let me just read this to you. They end with 92 points and a 52 goal differential. That is insanity. If they can repeat what they've done in the first half of the season, which we can say at some points wasn't their strongest. We can for sure say that right now Inter is their strongest team. And if they continue on this trajectory, that is something to be very afraid of.
Where I'm going to push back on you is two things. Because while we're saying like Inter has been at their strongest, Napoli has been at their weakest for 3 months. Like they're getting their best striker back. They're getting their second best midfielder back. And Inter, on the other hand, are probably going to make a push in the Coppa Italia, probably going to make a push in the Champions League. Napoli are not going to do either of those things. And if they do, it's going to be because nobody's playing in those games, and it doesn't really matter what happens. So I think you would be overreacting to say that Inter are in a league of their own. 6 points is nothing. They got to play Napoli again. Don't forget that. And I would not be so sure that Inter are going to go to Naples and get 3 points in the second half of the season. Like Antonio Conte's, I just don't think he's going to let that happen. The other thing is you now have Juve playing way better. Inter have historically done very bad against Milan over the last year or so, right? Like they haven't beaten Milan in a very long time at this point.
Or Juventus or Napoli. Like that's what I'm going to say.
They're not a big game team. I'll say that. I agree.
And Napoli tends to be a big game team. And the other thing that's kind of happened with Napoli, and this is a great discussion also. I love the flow of this. But my point that I want to make with Napoli, and I think the last 2 games really proved this, they need to get McTominay further up the field. He is probably their second or third best goal scorer, maybe their first even. And because of all the injuries, they haven't been able to do that. And now they're kind of forcing it to happen. And you're seeing what he can do up there. And that's why he was Serie A MVP last year. And as more guys get back, particularly with Zombo and Kevin De Bruyne and Billy Gilmore over the next 1 to 2 months, they're going to be a lot better. And they're already very good. So Napoli on trajectory to get better.
I do worry about KDB coming back. I said this before the show, but I do worry about how Conte is gonna manage him back in the lineup, because when KDB was playing, we saw maybe the worst out of McTominay. So I wouldn't be surprised if they, number one, either take their time with bringing De Bruyne back, or number two, don't bring him back at all, really, and have him in as that extra game player when they're playing the Champions League or playing the Coppa Italia. But I think to your point, having Lukaku back, having McTominay's running mate from last season will be a huge game changer. Can't say that's not going to be.
Yeah, I'll just quickly piggyback Logan's, because what you said was the key over, and granted they have 3 draws in the last game, but Scott McTominay has made them have draws because he scores goals, is getting Scott further up the pitch. If Kevin De Bruyne comes back, where does that leave Scott? So that is going to be the big question mark, which I agree with Logs about.
And I think that another interesting part of this conversation is we just talked about it, and maybe it's just recency bias because they just played each other, but we just talked about these two teams like Milan's not in between them. And Milan hasn't gone anywhere. I just think that our level of play has certainly come down a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Last 5 games, 3 draws. 2 wins, but 3 draws against teams that we really should have gotten 3 points against, realistically. And by realistically, I mean we 100% should have gotten 3 points. This was a very big stretch of games that we could have easily taken first place in this league. But we have a huge tilt tomorrow, not only for us, but for Como as well. And the reason I was talking about when Mats was saying that there's a couple of groupings here and how the top 5 could really be a top 6 is, God forbid, Como come away for 3 points tomorrow, which is easily an outcome. Como at home is not an easy game. The Little Lads by the Lake is something that we cannot discount. Como is 2 points behind Roma, a shitty Roma, falling Roma.
They're 5 points.
If they win, right, if they win, he's saying.
I'm saying if they win, they're 2 points behind them, and they're 5 points or 3 points behind Milan and Napoli.
They're not at that level.
They're not, and they're not going to finish in 4th. I can almost confidently say they're not going to finish in 5th because of the experience, which is why they're at the top of bucket number 3. They're ahead of schedule. You're right. They're dangerous. They beat Juventus. They destroyed Juventus. but they drop games at random points in times, and that's because they're young, inexperienced, and they're learning, which is no fault of their own. But I agree that they are. You can't overlook Como, but they are where they are right now is like best case scenario for their season, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Sure.
They don't
Best
have
case scenario.
They don't have
potentially.
any killers. Like Nico Paz.
Nico Paz, baby, he's a
I'm not-
killer. He's the
Nico
baby killer.
Paz
But
isn't
what
the
happens when
guy that just wins every game. Like he does a
does,
lot of
though.
stuff. No,
he does win
no,
every game.
he is always relying on other people too. Like he has a lot of assists, yes. But like you look at these other teams, Atalanta, Lookman, killer. Roma maybe don't have one, which is part of the big issue with Roma. Juve have Yildiz, Napoli have a ton of guys, Milan have a ton of guys, Inter have a ton of guys. And that's the level that they're not at that level yet. They're not good enough.
I think you just said it though. Como could potentially beat out Roma.
Yeah, but at this point in time,
table.
are you more confident that Como finishes? Who finishes higher, Como or Atalanta?
Atalanta.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
But then I could easily see Roma falling behind both those teams.
So then your best case is 6 for Como in that case, because you're just flip flopping Roma. And Atalanta.
We don't talk about math here. We don't like the math. It hasn't been working. No, you're right. You're right. That all checks out to me. I do think Atalanta, the way that they've turned it around with Palladino, that puts them above Como, above Roma, in my opinion.
I mean, and kind of just on Como, they have squeezed everything they can out of this team. Is the way I'm looking at this. They
That's
cannot
not a bad
play.
take.
They cannot be any better than they are right now with the squad that they have. Everybody's playing at their highest level. Fabregas is doing a great job, but I just don't think they have the players to get any further than this. And they might beat Inter.
That's not a bad
They
show.
might beat Milan. They might beat Roma at random points in the season, but they're not going to be able to string those wins together enough to get higher.
That's fair. That's fair. So we've had a lot of opinions about a lot of other teams, and I'm gonna stay quiet for a second.
Mott's had a second. What Mott?
I just want to flip. I want to flip now to your team, the jersey. That
please.
you're wearing,
that's what I wanted to bring it to.
They're playing Como, so we just kind of briefed.
It's only fitting.
Yeah, exactly. So why I think, or even like maybe like I know when we were talking about this, we wanted to say like, what do Milan need to do in order to win the Scudetto? But that to me is why I think they will not win the Scudetto. And it is, they beat the big games. They struggle in the low block games. And that goes back to me, Allegri. Watching Allegri for Juventus 2.0, he doesn't provide anything for the players in terms of style of play or help in order to create a goal. It is all just do what you do, go out there, and eventually we'll get a goal. That doesn't always happen. Where you guys are better, and we've talked about this before, and why it's working better than it did at Juventus is because Luka Modric is so goddamn good that eventually something will happen because Luka Modric will make it happen. With that said, that to me is what they have to do, and that to me is what I don't think they're going to do to challenge at the end of the season for the Scudetto. And I will blame Allegri, but I also will say it is because of Allegri that you guys, and Luka Modric, that you guys will be at least in this top 4, top 3 race.
Here's a question for you. And this is kind of going to drive my argument here. I really want to say they can do it, but like they should have beaten Fiorentina. Pulisic had 2 or 3 very good chances. And there's a reason I'm making this point. If you take Pulisic out of this team and put Lautaro Martinez on this team, do they then go win the Scudetto? Like if you have Lautaro playing that position and he's burying every chance that he gets, that kind of thing. I think it's legit, like a legitimate
I think that's
question.
an unfair comparison because Pulisic has done exactly what Lautaro's done this season.
That's what I was just about to say. If you
put him in the same minutes, I mean, realistically, if Pulisic puts away those 2 incredibly simple chances that typically he does put away, he's on the same goal line as Lautaro this season. And I was going to reserve I'll let you finish your point because I have a couple of things to say here, but finish your point as if I agreed with you that Lautaro wouldn't have made a difference.
Well, I don't know. That's what I was asking because I don't know.
I don't think he would have made. I think
there's no reason this team can't win the Scudetto. I mean, they're banging in goals a lot of games. I mean, if they beat Fiorentina, and they probably should have, they're 3 points behind Inter. I think they're a little bit stagnant, but they haven't had 100% health. Now that Füllkrug's back, they have a real number 9 who played very well. They were at their best when Santi Jimenez was on the field, regardless of what any of us can say, right? I think that was the best version of Milan we've seen when they had a true number 9 up there. Are they better than Inter? No. But Milan are like very pragmatic. And it's going to go it's going to go as Pulisic and Leao go. They need both of them to be at their best. it's not enough for one of them to be at their best for them to win the Scudetto.
I'm going to say something, and it absolutely breaks my heart, and I shed a tear every time I've been prepping for this episode to think about this, but I have to agree with Mats and come out and say that Milan are not going to win the Scudetto. Milan are not going to win the Scudetto, and it comes down to a couple of things. Number one, I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. Milan magic has been a huge portion of why we are where we are, and I think that magic tends to run out. We've seen in these last couple of draws that we are just not getting the roles that we need. Pulisic at the PK line making dumb decisions, trying to get past De Gea or just squibbing it by the goal. That's usually something that goes in for us that doesn't go. The other thing here is that, to Matz's point, it's to Allegri's credit and also to Allegri's credit that we are not so killer on the offensive line, but that we haven't lost games because our defense is so stout, and that's the Cortomuso. The other thing that I want to say here is that as much as I love Luka Modric, and I will never dog him, you can't dog him. He's a golden Ballon d'Or winner, 40 years old, still putting in 90-minute shifts. I said this about Lazio last season. I'm not going to say that Pedro is the same player as Modric. It's just not this. You can't say that.
I have no idea what the point is you're going to make.
But to anchor your team on a 40-year-old man game in and game out is not a winning formula. And we've seen it every single time that Modric is not on the pitch, that this Milan team is not the same team. And as much talent and as much promise as I want to say that Ricci has and Yashari has, Modric makes this team go. And when Pulisic is not putting in goals, and when Leao is not putting in goals, it's Modric who continues to make those opportunities. And he wasn't on the pitch against Fiorentina. And you see what happens. We get a good goal at the end of the game, but and a very weird opportunistic goal out of Nkunku, who I actually think has a lot of momentum going for him. But this is not a winning formula. It breaks my heart to say. But at the same time, Allegri has given us a floor of top 3.
Right. Yeah, then that's true. And I mean, at the end of the day, they are a worse squad than Napoli and Milan. I mean, Napoli and Inter, right? If you take the top 4 right now, Milan
on paper,
Milan are
for sure,
probably the worst team in the top 4. I mean,
on paper,
they're ahead of Juve, I would still say.
But the thing is that we beat both of these teams.
Right.
We beat both these teams. And to Matz's point, and you've said it too, Vos, and I've acknowledged it as well. We struggle to decide what our game plan is against those lower level teams that do not want the ball.
No, they know the game plan. That was why Matz at the end of Allegri's second stint with Juve was so sick of Allegri, because you get big results, but then it's horrible to watch against the worst teams. It's not built for that.
But we show the ability to play on the offensive when we go down a goal. We don't always have to
because
play
you have
to. I know because we have
to.
So
Allegri then pushes them up.
We don't always have to in a 1-1 in a.
That's Allegri.
Who's your coach?
Yes.
That's his.
I get it. You guys have been telling me this. But
I know, but the whole thing, communism's good on paper, but doesn't work in real life. Allegri does one thing, and he's not going to change it. You can't. This is the reason you are here. It's because Allegri will not change that style of play. And the minute he does, players are not going to be drilled in, we defend, that's all we do, and if we score, we'll take it. If you take that away for one game, it's gone. And he has that drilled into players. He's won Scudettos on it. The players aren't quite as good as the players on Inter and Napoli. If he did have a couple better players.
I also think, listen, it's also for me with Allegri, and you guys I think you're ahead of schedule, right? You guys were in 8th last year. And Allegri said it from the start, our goal is top 4. Where Inter have the players and the style of play over Milan. Napoli also have the players, but what their difference is they have the Conte mindset. Allegri's mindset is defend. Conte's mindset is fucking die for the win. You know what I mean? We will die. We will die. Allegri's is we are going to defend, and then at the end of the game, hopefully our one or two opportunities go in, because the humans make mistakes. And then where now Juventus is coming up is they have the Spalletti mindset, which is all gas all the goddamn time. We are trying to score goals, and that is going to play a better factor it's going to be better at the end of the season with 18 more games left, when Juventus tried to go hang 5 goals on Cremonese, where Milan tried to win 1-0. So that's where I think is going to be where Juventus end up passing Milan eventually in this race. But you can't be upset because you have we're talking about Milan as a top 4 spot, and that's because of Allegri. So this is
I know, but I got a taste. I sniffed sniffed the Scudetto. I could taste the metal
Sniff the
in my
Scudetto.
mouth.
You were
When?
I could
We're 18 games into the season.
We've had a couple of weeks at number 1.
20 games.
We've had a couple of weeks in my
Udinese had a couple of weeks at number 1.
And I've been dethroned.
I think you got to listen. This is the devil that you got in bed with at the summer.
We sold our soul to the devil. I get it. I
can't teach an old dog new tricks.
No, what this is stabilizing the ship. It was unstable. You know how you're gonna finish top 4, like right.
Don't jinx it.
They should. Okay, I'm gonna say they should finish top 4. If you finish top 4, you then next season you're in the Champions League. You have Yashari 100% healthy, who is essentially assumed to take the Luka Modric part long term, right? That's kind of the plan.
Ricci's supposed to take it.
Him or Ricci. So then you have those two guys. You then have the opportunity to bring in some more players. You bring in another Titan maybe to play in the midfield. Maybe you bring in a Titan up top. Maybe you bring in one more Titan to solidify the back line. Then you're in insanely good shape because you have a very strong midfield. You still have Christian Pulisic and Rafa Leao, which are the best wingers in the league. And then you still have that rock-solid defense that Allegri has created, and it's something to build on.
And Mignon. And we're going to re-sign Mignon.
Listen,
Paisans, I lost myself there for a second. I told myself all season I've done a great job. I don't think anybody can dog me for this. I've done a great job being level-headed about this team. I lost myself for a second there because, again, I know what Allegri is. Mats has told me for years what Allegri is. He's shown what he wants to do. I should not be upset, and I won't be upset going forward. We need to keep a level head here. We need to stay top 4. Again, it breaks my heart. We're not going to win the Scudetto, but like Vos just said, I think that we have an insanely good platform to take another step next year and not stay stagnant, which you can only look up from here for us. But it is just entirely frustrating. Vos, we talk about this a lot. And this is a little bit off topic, but this whole episode's a little bit off topic from everything that we usually do. So I want to touch on this. From an outsider's perspective, from people that aren't just old dogs in the league, which tends to work. Conte, Allegri, Spalletti now coming back, even Sarri for a couple of years. The heritage in this league continues to show that it can work. But from an outsider's perspective, when you look at an Allegri and you say, you know that you can play a style of soccer that is attacking, that's coming from behind, or even just more offensive because you are one goal down. Why in the world do you not just say it's 0-0, but why don't we just pretend we're one goal down and play the way that we know we can?
Because then you're going to concede a goal at the other end, and he's not willing to take that risk. It's risk reward. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing that style of football. It's different. It's just a different philosophy, and it's a philosophy that Jose Mourinho used, and he was the best manager of all time for a brief period of time until Pep overtook him. Allegri is probably one of the best coaches to ever coach in Italy, period. And he has always done that. There's nothing wrong. Just because you don't like it doesn't make it wrong. And this season is showing that. This guy, I mean, he's definitely one of the best managers of all time in this league. And
it worked.
There's different ways of doing things.
I have been saying this since we started Calcio Culture, since before Calcio Culture. It worked before Pep and Manchester City and the system and we attack. And I'd also add, in my personal opinion, the level of play has raised from the players themselves. And I'm talking about that from a lower level club, maybe not from a higher level club, because there's the argument that like it's all systems nowadays and there's not really good footballers. I disagree with that. I think the players have gotten better to the point where if you allow a Genoa, a Cremonese, a Lecce to be in the game at the end of the game, they have good enough players to go win it. Whereas in 2012, I don't think that was the case. I think that the players at that level weren't that good, and the players at the top level clubs were just way better, so they could see the game out. So it worked for Mourinho and Allegri, and they became two of the greatest managers of all time on it. And you're not going to teach an old dog new tricks after they've won so many games from it. And that's what it is.
I would agree, but you still can't
4.
complain about the result. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it doesn't work. It still works. Like, that hasn't gone away. When you have good players and you have the right players that fit the system, it's a good style of play. I mean, but you can even go back to Jose Mourinho at Manchester United, and that was after the Pep days.
Finished second.
Exactly.
Best finish they've done.
It's all about building a team that fits the system or making a system that fits the team. And that is why Milan were so bad last year. We kept saying it. And at times they were a counterattacking team, and that's when they were at their best by like a very long way. And the managers were trying to get away from that, and it hurt them.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I get it, guys. I get it. You don't need to teach me Calcio.
So moving
here,
on, then
I get it.
I feel like every week we come on here and try to explain the same thing to Logan.
Yeah, Logan doesn't listen.
Moving on to a coach who has a different mindset and his own system, and I would say that obviously he adopted these players, so he is teaching his players to learn his system in Spalletti, and you're seeing the difference, right? Like the Allegri had not the exact players, but pretty similar players to what Spalletti has, and you're like the difference between what Juve under Allegri 2.0 is and Spalletti is we play high up the pitch. We want the ball back. We want to possess. We want to attack. We want to score 5 goals. Yes, sure, there's going to be moments where against Lecce they don't get the 3 points. But what did I say when we tied Lecce? I came on here and I said another day we win 3-4-0.
I said it was the best Juve performance of the last 3 years when they tied Lecce. Yeah.
And then 2 games later, we hang 5 on Cremonese. The first time we scored 5 goals since like fucking 2018. Since we've won 9 in a row. We hung 3 on Sassuolo the day before. And not to mention, we had 3 shutouts in the last 4 games. So we're getting the defense right. But that's because we're possessing the ball, we're pressing, and it's fully nothing has changed. The players are the exact same. Besides the mentality, you look at the way they're playing
palpable.
on the pitch. It's the mentality. We are going to step on these guys' throats. And last season, I came on every single episode. And 2 seasons ago, we have no mentality. We have no leader. Spalletti is a leader, and he gives us mentality. And now everyone has a mentality, and we have multiple leaders on the pitch. And I used to, I don't know if you remember this. I'm kind of ranting right now. We were in your attic in high school, and we were arguing that if the manager has a say on the way the team plays. And I was like, no, the players go out there and they play. And you're like, dude, you're an idiot. Oh my God. Like I was such an idiot back then. You're a snapshot of your manager, and and what Spalletti has done in the time that he's been here is I did not see it coming as quickly. I knew Spalletti was a good coach. I knew that what his system is. We saw it with Napoli. We saw it for 1 game for the Italian national team with the fluidity and whatnot. But wow, he has changed Juventus in a 10-12 game span to things I've never seen before, or since I haven't seen.
I would say never seen
years.
before for Juve. I mean, Juve was never like this, even at their best. They were not bring it to you, score 1 million goals. It's different. I mean, they are a modern.
It's different. We definitely could score goals, but like
definitely.
we weren't necessarily. I agree, it's different, but it's also.
I think the other thing with this team is like the roster could still get a lot better. Like he's doing this with a good team, not a great team.
Yeah, I don't know if we're bringing anybody in. I know we're linked to Chiesa. I know we're linked to some players, but it is the 14th, so there's not too much time left. I don't know.
I don't think they need anybody this year. I'm more looking towards. I mean, if at this point, they should sign the contract with him right now.
Agreed. Oh my gosh, like
give him the whole bag.
He's gotten Jonathan David to score goals and look better. Moretti is playing a great. Yildiz is doing
elevated more. I think he's elevated more under Spalletti.
I think Locatelli, he's progressing to play.
Bremer hasn't gotten hurt. Maybe he's doing something.
Kalulu is higher up the pitch. Weston McKennie is
my God.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
The own goal that definitely should have been his own. It should have been a goal for West. That was the best run I've seen a Juve wingback make in 2 years.
He did, and
I thought Thuram's best game was this weekend too. I thought he looked very different.
It's credit to one man. So I am just like very much impressed.
Glaze fest going on.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this. I don't know how to feel sometimes when I'm watching this team. Like, I'm like, what is going on? This is not, I'm seeing a guy pass the ball and move. Like I'm used to seeing him pass and stay still. It's insane. I'm like, am I watching the right team?
Where I do want to pump the brakes a little bit. Last 3 games for Cremonese, Sass, Lecce, Pisa. So
yes, I agree. We've had an easy schedule, and if you look, that easy schedule is going to continue. But once again, it's the eye test. How if we didn't have Spalletti, if we had a different coach, we're not putting up 5 and 3 2 games in a row. We might be drawing both those games. We might lose one. We might not be stepping on these guys' throats. So I agree. Like we're playing lower level teams right now, and I knew this. And Juventus need to continue to win. I don't remember. I don't have it up in front of me, but they're playing bad teams where they should get 18 out of 18. They obviously already dropped Lecce, so they can only get 16 out of 18. But they need to fully get the full amount of points. But there's nothing that tells me that they're not going to, especially with the more goals we score, the more confidence we're going to have, and the more goals we're going to continue to score.
No, I mean, listen, they've got Napoli. They've got Napoli in 11 days. I was going to say
your confidence is well noted, and I don't think you should have any any reason not to be so confident given the play style. But I need to see this against a top team. I need to see this against a Corso Musso. I need to see this against Conte. I need to see this against a fiery Inter. Until then, it's a little bit of it's a wazi, it's a woozy.
Here's something for you. This is a hot take. Good. You know what? This is an intelligent take. If Juve's
back,
just
gas yourself up mid-take.
If Juve is back, and I'm going to say they do it, they're going to win the Coppa Italia this year.
I mean, maybe.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
What I was going to say
you just said that didn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're such a fool. Like you're a jester. You're a court clown.
Logs, to you saying do it against a big team, I agree. We have to do it against an Inter, Milan, and Napoli. We did lose to Napoli under Spalletti, and we didn't look amazing, albeit that was 5-6 games ago, so he's gotten more time with them. Juventus haven't lost to Inter, and they've been terrible the last 2 seasons. They put up 4. It was a tie 4-4. Then they beat them 4-3. Like Juventus, for whatever reason, when they can't beat Pisa or Verona, they go and beat Inter. I don't remember the exact records that we've had against Milan over the last couple of times. I know they beat him under Mata. So we play, even when we were terrible, we played the big teams well, as more so the smaller teams that we struggled against because of the low block and we couldn't get by it. So I am confident that we are going to play the big teams well. I mean, but I do agree. Like, I want to see it in the big games.
That's what Inter is beating the teams they're supposed to beat and then not played well in big games. That wins you the Scudetto at the end of the day. Like, that gets you in the race 100% of the time. Inter, like, since their new school thing, have not been good in big games. And, I mean, they're right there every year. So you need to win some big games for sure. I mean, that's why Napoli won it last year. I mean, Juve are a step away. I mean, there's a reason we all had them finishing top 4 this year, right? Didn't we all have them?
We all have them finishing second, which is crazy because that was under Tudor.
They're 1 point back right now.
Yeah, well, we got to see what happens with Milan tomorrow. But yeah, if Milan lose or even draw,
why you got to put these bad omens?
And we're sitting 1 to 2 points back in second, playing the way we're playing.
I mean, you can beat Napoli at this point. They're still depleted.
I'm so confident, and I also think we can go deep in the Champions League. I don't know who we're gonna get when we play. That team.
You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot.
Dude, I'm not.
I think the defense
is not ready.
I said it. What team is?
I'm confident.
We play that you guys play.
Well, we don't know yet. We don't know yet because we play Benfica, and then we don't know the matchups of who you're gonna play. But I'm telling you right now, that team is not going to be ready. The mindset, the mentality that we come out with every game, I haven't seen since, I'd argue, Conte, but obviously they had a mentality under Allegri.
I don't know. I'm worried about a lot of players in the Champions League and the defense in particular. That's another level up.
We'll see.
We will see.
We'll see. We'll see. I think we've covered Roma enough. I don't know.
I would agree with that. Roma, we've kind of covered.
I do think that we should touch on Atalanta very quickly one more time.
And that we also have to wrap up on Inter because we didn't really talk about Inter. We'll want to finish with Inter.
I feel like I ranted on Inter.
Yeah, Logan said that they 92 points. I'll say something quick about Inter. I've just been impressed, and I said it last episode with Kivu. He's overachieving in my mind. They've had the best lineup. We knew that. They've had the best lineup for 5 years. We've known that. Their depth is better, but I am impressed by Kivu and what he's been doing.
Well, I would even say from today's win, they're 0-0 until they bring on Pio. Pio's the winning goal scorer.
Taro also came off the bench and played well.
Right. So again, we go back to the depth thing. We go back to Kivu being able to rotate the lineup effectively. That's something we did not see out of Inzaghi. So that's another level on top of having an insane roster, having the depth now, but having the wherewithal to know when to change the lineup, when to bring on players, when to make the correct subs, and that's all to keep.
Also, Bisic's balling. That's huge too.
Bisic's good. He just doesn't have the brains all the time, but he's a good player. He's got all the intangibles, stuff that you can't teach.
Bisic lost Scott McTominay on the second goal.
I thought that was a Kanji. Was it Bisic?
That was Bisic.
Oh, on the second goal. On the second goal. Yeah, true. Good point. I mean, on Inter, and we get to Atalanta, but just one question. What do they have to do to not win it?
To not win?
We know the answer.
At this point in time, if all things, like, on paper, they should win, right?
Yes, I said that.
I don't know about on paper, because once again, if you're going just on paper, yes, best lineup, most inexperienced managers. So I don't know if you can give it to them just on paper because of that.
Yeah,
but we know what Inter does. We know what Inter
sample
does.
size, where would you rank Kivu amongst managers this year? Top 5, probably?
It has to be.
Yeah.
You can't be top of the table and not have a top 5 manager.
But this is, as impressed as I am with Inter, this is the easy part of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
Coming up on the hard part where they got the Coppa Italia, they got Champions League, and they got the Serie A. So we saw Inzaghi get them to almost a Scudetto, and then they completely fell apart, right? Let's see how Kivu manages 3 competitions in the latter stages of those competitions.
Agreed.
Atalanta?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we need to round out this top 7 that I was talking about, and that is Atalanta. And we noted that the trajectory that this team on is second, I think, only to Juventus in terms of recoveries. Obviously, Inter was already top 3 the whole season.
Yeah, that's true.
So in terms of recoveries, in terms of trajectories, and it's funny because Juve was deciding between Spalletti and Palladino when they were looking for a new manager, which seemingly they couldn't have gone wrong because they went with Spalletti.
I'm so happy with Spalletti.
And
no, it's in all seriousness, where the two clubs are at and what the two clubs are trying to achieve, I think the cards, is that the term?
Fell
in the right place. Right. Palladino makes more sense from Atalanta. Spalletti makes more sense for Juve. That might change. Like, Palladino might turn into that for sure. But he's so young, and what he had, like, he could be that. I don't know. Palladino's a really good coach, too.
I think to Monta's point about being able to manage the island of misfit toys, and we talked about Fiorentina at length about that last year. Like, this Atalanta team has turned into a bit of an island of misfit toys to a certain extent. And to that point, I don't think Spalletti can do what Palladino's doing with Atalanta, and I don't think that Palladino can do what Spalletti's doing with Juventus.
Well said.
To your point, the cards fell correct, and Palladino, what he's been able to do with the pieces that he has been nothing short of amazing. And we knew he had this in his toolkit. It's insane to see it in person again. I don't think we should have been surprised, but we knew that this Atalanta team had talent. That wasn't ever the question.
Right? I mean,
third place last year, they lost Retegui, of course, and Lookman has always been a drama case, through and through. But he's been able to take some of these players that were in and out of the lineup, maybe not sure where they were supposed to be, and brought them back to form. CDK went to a bit of a lull there at the beginning of the season under Juric. He's back to where we saw him last year under Gasperini. Zalewski has found a new form and being able to tuck in from the wing position, which we saw flashes of at Roma, but now certainly has solidified himself there. We've talked about the adaptation of Pasalic going from a much more forward player into a box-to-box midfielder. Ederson being able to hold up play and be much more calm on the ball. I still think there's a bit of a hole here at the defense, but more so from an injury perspective other than, not necessarily from a talent perspective. And Carnesecchi has done Carnesecchi things. So Carnesecchi's been good. Palladino stepped into a situation that looked awry. Atalanta in 12th, 13th place when he took the helm, and has turned this team around into what we just talked about as potentially finishing in 5th.
One thing I want to say is that this is a huge, this is a huge, huge shout to Palladino if this is true. Nothing has really changed from the Gasperini team. Under Juric, they just played bad, and this all goes back to mentality. He has clearly instilled a different mentality into this team, and most managers can never do that. I mean, we're seeing Gasperini fail to do that at Roma right now. And Palladino had a mentality of Fiorentina, and when he left, it left with him. And now he's brought that mentality. And at Monza, it was the same thing. Like, he has a mentality that he gets across to his players and gets the most out of them. And we are fully seeing that right now. For them to be here already, everything has gone perfectly. Basically, everything has gone right, apart from his first game in charge. where they lost, and then they lost 1-0 to Inter, which they probably should have drawn.
Which was his first game in charge again?
When I don't know if he's actually had any training sessions. I think it was the 3-1 loss to Verona. Was when it was. I think that's when he took over, or it was after that game or before that game. I forget which one.
I'm trying to remember that right now, but because why
Palladino was at the helm for Verona.
Yeah, I think that was his first game.
I'm so impressed. Did I think he could right the ship and get them back? Yes. Did I think he could do it this quickly? No. Because yes, the players are very similar to the Gasperini system and the Gasperini team. They're basically the same besides like minus Retegui.
Regari.
Gasperini and Palladino just played two completely different styles of play. And the guys, them understand, and it's much more defensive. And so he wants players in spots defending as a unit way more than like Gasperini does, because Gasperini's is the man press all over the place. And they've definitely stopped that under Palladino. And where I'm impressed is like the players getting it so quickly and adjusting to it so quickly and them turning it around so fast. I remember 4 or 5, 6 episodes ago, maybe longer than that, because Palladino's been there for a little bit, was just finish in 10th, finish in 8th. They are fully in a in the race for
the European
Conference
spot.
League. I don't know if they can do Europa. I don't know if they could do it, but Conference League for sure I would not be shocked about. And even if they don't finish in the European spots, I don't think you could do anything but applaud what Palladino has done.
I mean, the other thing that's going on is they've been extremely good in the Champions League. So, I mean, don't call them out yet. Like this is one of those teams that could make a run, and they've done it before, and this is probably way better than the team that did it a while ago. I think in 2019 that was. So, I mean, the thing that still stands is basically you're playing with house money if you're Palladino. Like, you've already shown that you're the guy. Anything you do this year is like a bonus at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter what you did. And I think that's probably helping the players a little bit too, although I would say the players are also playing for a position on this team over the next year or so. The other thing that this is a little bit of a sidebar. The other thing that dawned on me a little bit is just how well run Atalanta is. And I don't think we've given them enough credit going back like from last year to this year. They sold Regari to Atletico Madrid, and we were all like, oh, that's a little weird. They brought in Bernasconi. Like, to Retegui, he literally bought Retegui to be like the guy that played for Scamacca for a year, and it went really well. So they sold him, and they knew Scamacca would come back and be really good. But then they also, you know what? Scamacca has some injury history. Let's go get Krstovic to back him up, and Krstovic has been very good. And then they knew the Lookman situation was going on, so what they do? They brought in Zalewski, they brought in Danny Maldini. Both those guys probably aren't at the same level, but both of them can do a job on any given day. And it's just that level of like seeing that is so insane to me.
They also don't miss, and they have a bar that they understand as a club, like this is our limit of spend, and we're going to evaluate the players that we know will work and that are ready to take the next step. They don't miss. That goes to a lot of times we gave that credit over the years to Gasperini, but he's obviously not there anymore. So yeah, definitely credit to Atalanta as a whole, even though they're fucking ran by.
And don't forget, I mean, Ezekiel, Titan back there, Anis Anor, who we thought they might have overpaid for, $22 million for an 18-year-old. They're going to flip him for 60. Like, this is just, they don't miss, and it's just great bits of business
back,
all
like
over the place.
Scalvini's playing well. Carnesecchi's playing well. It's just, I mean, I would say the only thing they're a little bit in trouble going into next year is going to be finding the Darun replacement, because that's probably the hardest position to replace on the field is the two midfielders.
But they do it every year, right? Every year you say, how are they going to replace Retegui? How are they going to replace?
Yeah, true.
You know, and then they did.
Coop Miners.
Yeah.
It'd be sick if they got Ravella. That would be so sick. That would make me so happy.
And I think they could.
No, Latito will charge 120 mil for Ravella.
No, not if it's not to Juventus.
True to everybody else. Where do we think Atalanta finish?
5th. I think Roma fall. I really do.
Roma have to fall hard.
I think Roma stink.
We've kind of wrapped on everything, but there's two things I thought of because I forgot to ask the question earlier.
Go ahead.
First thing on Roma, Mancini, oh my God, cannot play center back. He's such a liability and doesn't have the footballing.
He's been a liability for years.
No, but he doesn't have the footballing IQ to hold that position down. And I just remember that from this weekend. And then the other question I had, I think this is an interesting one. And I forget why I wanted to make this point or have this question be said, but I think it's a good question regardless. Was Spalletti's Napoli better than Inzaghi's Inter? I think the other thing you have to take into consideration in that question is I would say Inzaghi's Inter had a much better roster than Spalletti's Napoli. And the reason I'm making that point is how much can Spalletti elevate this team?
We're talking about the one that
Won the
finished with
Scudetto.
94 points, Inter's Inzaghi's?
Take your pick. Take your best version of Inzaghi's Inter against the best version of Spalletti's Napoli.
I mean, I think the Spalletti-Napoli team won in a much crazier scenario than Inzaghi's did.
Inzaghi's 94 points were 19 points above Milan at 89 goals.
But my point being is that
22 goals.
I think the league season that Spalletti won was much more even than the year that Inzaghi won.
I pick Spalletti because Spalletti is now my coach. But I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think there's a.
What I like about this,
I think Spalletti did more with less.
He definitely did. He did more with less. I would agree with that. I think Spalletti elevates players more than Inzaghi does.
I will. To Logan's point as well, what was so crazy about Spalletti's Napoli is that year Insigne left, Koulibaly left. I'm forgetting one other player, maybe Fabian Ruiz. I don't know if that he definitely left before. It was they fully let go of 3 of their titans, their pillars of the club, and then. I remember watching a YouTube video of Spalletti, the Napoli allowed the fans to come in and talk to Spalletti, and they were chewing him out. And he was like, guys, we have a good team. We're going to be competitive. And the fans were like, we're going to suck. And then they totally overachieved expectations, to Logue's points, doing more with less. But he did stuff that team and Spalletti did things that pillars of Napoli were not able to accomplish, even though they were extremely close for years. So yeah, I would go Spalletti and Napoli because Inter were favored to win.
But also think about this. I mean, that was you talk about players leaving. That was the season that Napoli brought in Kvaratskhelia for 10 million and brought in Kim Min-jae for 15.
Yeah, those were
they turned him into
that was. I'm happy you said that. That was
the best players of all time.
That goes hand in hand to what I was saying. They let the pillars go and then they brought in new young guys. I didn't say
Sure. Okay. Sorry.
I think it ties back though is Kim Min-jae then got sold after that. And Kvaratskhelia then got sold after that. And Victor Osimhen, obviously, the whole saga went down. He was a big purchase regardless. But that situation should have ended a lot better. And if you look at kind of what Juve have done, I think kind of bad is not really sell anybody on for big money in a really long time. And I think they're going to be in a position to do that if they want to pretty soon, just because of how Spalletti elevates these. Even Lobotka. Spalletti made Lobotka.
Zalewski?
Zielinski.
I always get, yeah.
Well, even Zombo. That's the season that Zombo came
really
in from Fulham.
elevated. Yeah, that's true. So I mean, I'm excited for Juve. I mean, I'm
so
excited for Juve now. I mean, I tweeted literally, this is the most excited I've ever been about Juve. I mean, not ever probably, but in a very.
We got to go to Turin now. Now we got to go.
We're going back.
We saw them squeak out a game against Monza, and Yildiz absolutely elbow the shit out of a guy and get a red card.
Dude, all right, we'll end with this and then we'll hit the Culpi and then we'll wrap up. Kolo Muani with Spalletti.
Oh my God. Paisans, we never forget about Kolo Muani.
Where is Kolo Muani? Is he still going to be available?
Tottenham.
I think so. I don't think he's doing very, very good there. So
imagine
I'm hoping...
this. Next year, we're 3-3 under Spalletti. Yildiz at the 10, Jonathan David and Kolo Muani up top together.
That's not a 4-3-3.
That's not a 4-3-3.
Yeah, with a diamond up top, whatever you want to call it. That'd be fucking sick. Oh my God, that'd be
That's
sick.
what I wanted this year. That's what I wanted to happen. And we got Luis Openda.
All right, we love talking about hypotheticals, but Paisans, what's not hypothetically going to win this weekend is the Coppa di Luna. Culpi is back. Unfortunately, Vos botched it last week.
I did.
We went 2 for 3 again. Mats and I hitting our legs. Vos botching it at the last second.
Do we know?
But we got a brim.
I feel like I'm on a hot streak.
I have it. Hang on one second.
Vos will bring up the record, but we do have a brand new Culpi this week. It is a juicy Culpi going into the long weekend here in the U.S. We've got a lot of games all weekend long because of the makeup games. So there's a couple games on Saturday, huge slate on Sunday. We got 2 big games rounding it out on Monday for match week 20. Mats, do you want to share your leg for us?
Quick stats. Quick stats. Mats is 4 out of his last 5. That's really hot.
Mats, baby. What about Logs?
Logs is 2 out of his last 5, and I am 1 out of my last 5.
Yeah, so listen, Paisans. If
Logs
you're
is still
taking the
Logs is in the
Culpi,
lead.
Let's go.
Really?
Let's
Yeah.
go. Come on.
What's
Me and
the
you are
overall
tied.
record?
Me and you are tied, Mats.
Am I above 50%?
No, no, you're not. Neither am
Oh.
I. And neither is us. Dude,
All right. Well, so if
half of the season to go. This is the easiest
Dude, the
part of the
season
season
doesn't
for
start
us.
until match week 20. Colpies don't start till match week 20.
So if you're still taking the Culpi, we appreciate you because we've definitely let you guys down. But as Vos just mentioned, ride with me because I am hot. And we are going to continue that hot streak by what did I preach all episode with Juventus, the mentality, the progressive play, the on the front foot and going to kill the game. So I am taking the over in the Juventus Cagliari game, over 2.5, not the Juventus team total, over the over in the game.
Not a bad shout, Mats. Not
I
a bad
just did,
shout. Keep that hot streak going.
I just did some quick math here, and I think this is important to note. Since match week 10, collectively, we're 54%, which is not terrible.
It's not great.
Yeah, but
not
it's on the
great.
come up. It's on the come up. We've been getting better.
Yeah, that's your.
This is what happened last year.
I think 54% is pretty good for gambling as well. You want to be at 50.
I think you make money then.
Yeah.
All right,
next
anyways,
leg.
I've got Roma money line at Torino. I did some math here, and there's no way they lose to Torino twice.
That's true.
I like that leg. I like that leg a lot because
It's a good leg. It's a good leg.
they're going to be
110.
motivated, extra motivation. They already lost to Torino. Wait, no, actually, low-key, Torino have their number. Torino beat them in the Coppa Italia and in the season.
Yeah, no way they lose again. There's literally no way.
Tough to beat a team 3 times.
It is tough. It is
and
tough.
also, like, massive game every game now for Roma, just because, like, the way we're talking about them, like, they could easily be out of this race unless they turn it around, and now's the time to do it.
That's true. And just like that, we're also going to turn around the Colpi. My leg, Como money line, running with the little lads by the lake. Do not get it twisted. I'm not talking about against Milan tomorrow. I'm talking again. It's Lazio on Monday. They are at Lazio. Lazio is an absolute dumpster fire. Como away, plus 180. Nico Paz is going to bring us to glory. We've got a juicy Colpi, Paisans. We've got plus 1104. Do the math with me, Paisans. You know what to do. You bet $100 on the Colpi. You're taking $1,200 back home. You know what to do. You bet all the legs. You bet the Colpi. You win some money. You pay your debts from the beginning of the season when the Colpi let you down. We're no longer doing that anymore. If
you take this one and you win it, you're probably going to be about even.
And that's a fresh start. That's a fresh new season. We're going to the back half of the season with a little bit of a kitty. So, Paisans, thank you so much. This was an unreal episode. Thank you for letting us just get a little breather, a little talking, a little couch talk, as we like to call it. It's been a great episode. Thanks for sticking along. You know where to find us. We are growing in 2026, and we need you to help us with that. You know where to find us at Calcio Culture FC on all of the social media sites. We've got X, we've got Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and on all your favorite podcast sites, Apple Pods and Spotify. Mats, take us away.
Yeah, this is a fun episode, different episode. Comment your opinion, comment your thoughts, comment what you want us to talk about, comment your hate. We love it all. Thank you guys. If you're still with us, we appreciate you. Paisans, do not be a gagoots, and Forza Calcio Culture.